Shadows over Halion's gate. Word count, 4980. Setting, Hive World Halion, Segmentum Solar Present Day. 1 Drop Zone Vortex. The Valkyrie exploded mid-descent. Crimson fire streaked across the ashen sky as debris showered the broken cityscape below. The crash lit up the already war-torn ruins of Hive Halion's Gate, a once proud bastion of the Imperium now crawling with Xenos. Brother Sergeant Dreven braced his boots against the groaning hull of a Thunderhawk as it swerved to avoid the flaming wreck. 5 seconds, he roared, his voice modulating through Vox-Link as the dropship bucked in turbulence. Beside him, 10 Imperial Fists Terminators stood motionless, yellow-armored statues in the storm of war. "Contact," barked Brother Apothecary Malric. "Enemy on all specs, multiple pulse signatures." The ramp blew open. Dreven was first down, Storm Bolter hammering into the dusk. The Terminators followed, boots slamming into ferrocrete with the force of orbital bombardment. They'd landed in Sector K9, the Manufactorum district. Just as planned. To the killbox. High above, a Pathfinder spotter whispered through his comm-bead. "Shazla 1 to broadside fireline. Marks are in the killbox. Begin fusion cascade." A second later, the city shook. From atop collapsed hab blocks, twin plumes of blue-hot energy streaked out as a pair of broadside battle suits unleashed synchronized volleys. One of the Terminators staggered, his shoulder plate slagged to molten ceramite, but he returned fire even as he dropped. Dreven's voice was flat. "Form phalanx." The Imperial Fists shifted formation, advancing like a grinding machine, storm shields raised, assault cannons chewing through ruined cover and hapless drones. "Burn the pulse cows out," muttered Brother Rawthern, leveling his flamer. Promethium whooshed in a wide arc, igniting a Pathfinder squad huddled in cover. Screams broke the toes-cold silence. The Terminators pushed forward, each step cracking the bones of the city. Overhead, a Thunderhawk strafed with twin-linked heavy bolters, suppressing the retreating Pathfinders. It veered too wide. A blue flash arced from a nearby rooftop, fusion beam. The Thunderhawk's starboard engine disintegrated. The ship spiraled out of control, smashed into a spire, and detonated in a storm of shrapnel. Ghost keel, spat Malric. That was precision. Dreven adjusted his optics. Not precision. Bait. 3 The real battle begins. 3 ghost keels uncloaked from the haze. They shimmered into existence between the crumbling Manufactorum towers, twin fusion blasters screaming with every shot. Their drones floated beside them like silent executioners. A melter blast took out Brother Hark's right leg at the knee. He toppled, yet fired from the ground until another shot pierced his chest plate. He didn't scream. "Ghosts die like any other," said Dreven, driving forward, his power fist crackling. They moved in tandem, bolt rounds clanged harmlessly off stealth armor, but Malric closed the gap. He vaulted a barricade, jammed his power sword into a reactor vent beneath the ghost keel's cockpit. The suit jerked, twitched, and blew from the inside out. Drones fired in retaliation, and Malric went down in a blue haze, chunks of his armor glowing molten. Dreven saw red. Into the storm. Now. For the Temple of Steel. They took shelter in a crumbled pre-M42 shrine to the Omnicia, half submerged in rubble, half rigged with heretical tow tech. The stench of betrayal. Inside, they found them. Tow engineers, breacher teams, and auxiliary crews scavenging the data cores. Fire Team Caliban Vox clicked Dreven. Cleanse and hold. Without hesitation, the fists advanced. The breaches opened up first, blasts of pulse energy knocking chunks from the walls. One lucky shot pierced Brother Gorlan's gorget, severing his vox line and dropping him. The others didn't flinch. The Space Marines hit like thunder. Dreven moved like a predator, power fist crushing a breacher in half, his storm bolter executing the retreating Shizui. The others followed in silence, each kill a sacred rite. Kroot screamed and fled. One was yanked off its feet by a Terminator chain fist and slammed into a wall with spine-snapping force. After 3 minutes, the room was quiet again. Broken. Blood-soaked. Why would they scavenge data cores from an omniscient site, murmured Rothan. Because the Toe don't fear the machine spirit, Dreven said. And they know what we'll do to them when we find out what they've taken. 5. The Storm's Urge Gambit. Rumbling like thunder. Outside, the ground shook with every impact. The walls split, rubble falling. A massive shadow loomed through the smoke and ruin. Storm's Urge. Rothan called out. They've sent a goddamned walking fortress. It was the largest battle suit any of them had ever seen, bristling with destroyer missiles, cluster rocket systems, and twin pulse driver cannons that glowed with rising energy. All weapons, concentrate fire. Dreven roared. The squad opened up. Storm bolters raked its armor. Crack grenades detonated across its legs. Nothing stopped it. The Storm's Urge returned fire. A cluster missile pod sent Brother Devastator into the air, his entire torso incinerated. Another was pulped beneath a falling slab. Dreven kept moving, a force of nature. He vaulted through cover, dodged fusion blasts, and leapt onto the Storm's Urge's lower hull. His power fist screamed into overcharge as he punched through armor plating. The Toe pilot tried to shake him. Dreven tore open the cockpit. He looked the alien in the eyes, and then crushed its skull. The Storm's Urge collapsed like a building, taking Dreven with it. 6 reinforcements. Rothan dragged Dreven out of the wreck. His armor was cracked, scorched, but he lived. Status. Dreven groaned. 3 left, Brother Sergeant. And we've stirred the hive. From the smoke came Morto, Pathfinders, crisis suits, even drones bearing shield generators and pulse carbines. Shadow Sun had unleashed her second wave. Too many. Then came salvation. Thunder roared above, and a golden streak split the sky. Drop pods. 6 of them. Slamming into the earth like comets. They burst open with fire and fury. Out came more Imperial Fists, Blade Guard, Eradicators, even a dreadnought with las cannons blazing. The tide shifted. Rothan grinned, his face slick with blood. Looks like we brought our own storm. 7. The heart of the gate. With reinforcements, the push was swift. The Imperials advanced sector by sector, turning each corner into a tomb. The Toe fought hard, calculated, coordinated, like chess masters in real time. But against the relentless fury of the fists, even strategy broke. The final objective loomed, a Xenos command node atop Hive Halion's central spire. Sensor readings confirmed it, the neural relay coordinating their forces. If it fell, the Toe line would collapse. Inside the spire, the last of the crisis teams made their stand. Plasma, ion, and rail fire ripped through the chamber like lightning. Blade Guard stormed the stairs. The fight turned brutal. Melter rifles carved through walls. A dreadnought punched a crisis suit off the tower with a single swing. Dreven led the charge, limping, armor cracked, eyes filled with fire. He reached the node. 3 toes stood in defense, Shazva, elite warriors. They fired. He dodged one, took another shot to the shoulder, and slammed into the third with his full weight. Power fist crunched into flesh and steel. The relay went offline. Across the hive, the toe faltered. Their forces began to retreat. Dreven stood atop the spire, blooded, victorious. 8 Aftermath. 3 hours later, the hive was under Imperial control. Burning, broken, half uninhabitable, but theirs again. Dreven stood beside the iron-clad dreadnought, surveying the battlefield. Malric's corpse had been recovered. Rothan survived. Of the original 10, only 4 remained. We lost many, Rothan said. But they held the gate, Dreven replied. And the toe? Asked a blade guard. Dreven stared at the eastern horizon, where enemy dropships blinked out of the atmosphere. Running. But they'll be back. They always come back. Rothan grunted. Then we'll bury them here. Again. The Imperial Fists turned from the tower, the setting sun behind them casting long shadows. The gate stood. And the sons of dawn were ready. Whispers beneath ash, the toes return. A sequel to Shadows over Halion's Gate. Word count, ~4,960. 1. The Shaz-Atoll convenes. The High Council of the Fire Caste, the Shaz-Atoll, met in the Obsidian Chamber of Teoksh Station, 300 miles above the now Imperial-occupied ruins of Hive Halion's Gate. Tactical hololiths flickered with images, storm-shrouded ruins, blackened spires, the collapsed wreck of the Storm's Urge, and the segmented movement of Imperial Fists patrols consolidating the hive. The air buzzed with urgency. Shaz-El Korvash of the Viola September leaned forward, armor still scorched from orbital debris re-entry. Our forward strike elements are destroyed. The Imperium holds the gate. We lost 82% of our assets in the lower hive zones. The cost was unacceptable. We misjudged their reinforcement capacity, intoned Shaz-El Endras, voice cold, measured. And underestimated their resolve to hold territory with such fervor. They were supposed to bleed and fall back. Korvash snorted. They bled. They didn't fall. Poel Satan, diplomatic advisor to the council, spoke next. This failure is not total. The data core the Imperials seized contains only decoy encryption nodes. The true nexus remains secure within our subspatial buffer. They took a prize of dust. That drew murmurs of approval. But none spoke louder than AU Enviras, the Ethral representative for the expeditionary fleet. He raised his hand. Silence. We do not mourn tactical retreats. Nor do we allow pride to corrupt clarity, he said. We plan. We correct. We advance again. He turned to Commander Kovyr. You led the second phase of the invasion. You know their weaknesses. Tell us how we take back Halion's Gate. To Kovyr's analysis. Commander Kovyr stepped into the center of the chamber. Tall for a toe, he wore stripped-down crisis armor marked in matte black, a scar over one eye, and no ceremonial flourish. Just a tactician. He raised a hand, and the hololith reconfigured into 3-dimensional projections of Hive Halion. These are not simple warriors, he began. The Imperial Fists fight like walls. Not rivers, not storms. Walls. They advance, they endure, and they break you only when you're tired of breaking against them. He pointed to the ruined Manufactorum sector. Here. Sector K9. Where the ghost keels fell. The Imperials adapted to our stealth protocols in under an hour. Their apothecaries tracked our heat signatures using predictive thermal pathing. That alone shifts our entire tactical doctrine. Another swipe. A red highlighted spire. The Central Command spire, occupied. Its uplink relay is broadcasting encrypted Vox traffic likely tied to the Phobos pattern armor variants. That means reconnaissance and signal disruption are now layered into their strategy. He turned to the Council. We can no longer treat the Fists as brutes. We must treat them as a machine. A silent pause, then murmured assent. 3 plans within plans. In the subterranean war caverns of Teoksh Station, the planning began. Shazvan Immortal, leader of the remaining Ghost Keel teams, proposed a triple insertion plan beneath the Hive's outer shell. Imperials ignore deep strata beneath city levels. It is not defensible to them. We infiltrate through the water reclamation ducts, emerge beneath their primary defense bastion. Poel Satan added another layer. Reclaiming the Hive through force alone invites ruin. We must fracture their hold. Civilian pockets still exist in the ruins. Smugglers. Tech cultists. Deserters. We offer them shelter. Trade. Clean water. Hope. Korvash spat. You wish to buy our victory. No, said Satan smoothly. I wish to soften the battlefield before we wage it. Kovyr nodded. He's right. Psychological disruption is as vital as plasma. He turned to his fire-cast peers. We form an infiltration cadre under Immortal. We designate Satan's operatives to rebuild relations with the Hive scum. Meanwhile, I will orchestrate a bait offensive using repurposed wreckage from our Downstorm Surge unit. What bait? Asked Endras. Kovyr's eyes gleamed. The Fists honor the fallen. We leave them a corpse they cannot ignore. 4 ghosts of the fallen. The wreckage of the destroyed Storm Surge was quietly retrieved during an asteroid storm that scrambled the orbital Auspex net. Under cover of radiation bursts and atmospheric chaos, stealth drones swarmed over Sector 14 Gamma, recovering the remains. TOW engineers worked in shifts. They rebuilt it, not to function, but to appear functional. Its reactor glowed with a false signature. Its outer hull was etched with data symbols seeded for discovery. A trap for the curious. Kovyr stood before it on the hangar deck, watching as engineers attached collapsible antimatter nodes beneath the cockpit shell. When the Fists pull it apart to learn from it, said the technician, the node detonates, vaporizing everything within 40 meters. Good, Kovyr said. But make it subtle. The Fists are cautious. It must feel like victory. Then he turned to Satan. Deploy the messages. 5 words of the enemy. Poel Satan's agents began broadcasting encrypted signals to known Vox hackers and scavenger bands inside the Hive. Buried in the code were simple truths. The Imperium cannot feed you. The TOW offer water and power. The Imperials patrol, but do not protect. We remember the city as it was. Join us in restoring it. Join the greater good. Some of the messages included falsified videos of civilians being cleansed by yellow-armored behemoths. Others promised sanctuary in shadowed zones near the Hive's perimeter. None were traceable. None bore TOW symbols. But the message was clear. Kovyr observed from orbit. We are not sowing rebellion. We are sowing doubt. 6. The blade beneath. In preparation for the strike, the TOW began modifying their ghost keel stealth suits. New sensor baffles. Heat-sinked armor. Vox mimicry tech adapted from captured Phobos Vox units. They trained in artificial ruins built to mimic Halion's spire interiors, drilling again and again on entering without sound, killing without flash, vanishing without trace. Shazvan Immortal stood before her 5 remaining operatives, each one hardened by the failure at K9. She spoke softly. They took our comrades. Our pilots. Our honor. She paused. And they will not see us coming this time. 7. The return of Shadow Sun. Though the Ethrals had not expected her to return, she came. Commander Shadow Sun, Shazo Shazara, landed in silence aboard Teoksh station. She did not speak at first. Only watched. Watched the drills. The hololiths. The rebuild of broken tech. The whispered council between KOVYR and Nimartal. And then she spoke. You seek to retake the hive with precision. Good. A pause. But if this fails, we move to Phase 3. A silence fell over the room. What is Phase 3? Asked KOVYR. Shadow Sun turned, her expression like ice. Extermination. 8 echoes before war. The last week before the counterstrike, everything was still. No battles. No drop pods. No Vox traffic intercepted. But the Fists had begun to find things. Graffiti in High Gothic, etched into ferrocrete walls in blood. Where was the Emperor when the air ran out? Dead men with empty ration packs and toplasma burns, staged to look like executions. A captured servitor whispering in TOW dialect, the greater good does not abandon the weak. A floating drone, half buried in rubble, pulsing with a false distress beacon. The Fists brought it into their bastion. They never saw what was written on the underside. Round 2. Echoes in the Stone, the night before. A sequel to Shadows over Halion's Gate and Whispers beneath Ash. Word count, ~4,980. 1. The Ember Watch. The fortified redoubt at Sector K9 was built from the bones of a fallen spire and armored with the remains of the TOW's dead. Storm surge plating formed its outer wall. Gun turrets rose from the limbs of shattered drones. Etheric bones turned into bastions. It had no name. Imperial Fists didn't name forward camps. It was dusk. The sky above the hive was painted in bruised reds and chemical ash. Inside the walls, the remnants of the 3rd Company stood vigil. 17 remained. They called it the Ember Watch, the tradition of standing guard the night before a final assault, a last respite of memory before silence and duty claimed all. Tonight, Brother Sergeant Varix of the 5th Tactical Squad lit the pyre. Not a pyre of death, but one of memory. And around it, yellow-armored giants settled their weight, each in silence, each with stories the Emperor alone had ever truly heard. Until now. To Brother Sergeant Varix. Varix sat first, helm removed, his scarred features illuminated by firelight. His voice was like stone grinding against stone. I was born on Necromunda, he said without preamble. Hive Secundus. My father was a ganger. A hard man. Gave me my first blade at 6. My second at 7. My third I took from him when he tried to kill me. Chuckles. Dark, soft. Astad's humor. I bled out on a factory floor. Thought I was dying. A black-robed chaplain found me. Said I had a spine the Emperor could use. He glanced to his brothers. I remember thinking, so long as it's not back to that hive. He raised a flask of recycled water. To the Emperor. To the stone beneath our feet. And to the enemies who think we're tired. Clinks followed. 3 Brother Hestar the shield-bearer. Massive, quiet Brother Hestar removed his gauntlet and held up a broken piece of keramite. From Varnax 9 he said simply. Crusade world. Orcs. 40,000 of them. 5 of us. This caught a kopa that would have split me from neck to groin. He passed the shard around. Captain Torfin said, your shield is only as strong as the brother to your left. So I spent the next 10 years being that shield. He looked around. You all were once to my left. Every single one of you. So if the toe think we're going to break ranks come dawn. He cracked his knuckles. I dare them. For Brother Tarvin the artist. Not every fist was shaped from war alone. Tarvin leaned back, arms crossed over his bolt gun, and stared up at the hive stars. I painted, he said. A pause. In the days before gene seed. Oils. Acrylic. Fingers. Sometimes even blood. I painted old ruins from books. Places I'd never seen. Macragh. Baal. Terror. Thought if I couldn't go there, I'd at least remember what they looked like. He tapped the aquila on his chest plate. I haven't painted in 100 years. Not since Gulkar's Reach. But I still remember what the stars looked like above the Palace of Lost Saints. He glanced to the others. If I die tomorrow, don't remember me for my bolter. Remember me for the color blue. I was always chasing it. 5 Brother Lexicanum called Oz the Whisperer. The Psyker had been silent all night, helm off, eyes flickering with unseen ghosts. Called Oz finally spoke. I dreamt last night. No one laughed. A librarian's dreams were never jokes. I dreamt of a field. Not of war. Of wheat. Stretching as far as the eye could see. Golden. Pure. Wind across it like a song. He looked to Varix. You were there. But not in armor. None of us were. He took a breath. I think it was peace. The others sat with that a moment. Then Varix nodded. We'll earn that field tomorrow. 6 Brother Corven the veteran. The oldest among them. Corven had served through 3 chapter masters, 12 crusades, and enough wounds to kill a dreadnought. He raised a data slate, tapping its cracked display. These are the names of every brother I've ever fought beside. He scrolled. Arden. Fell at Molcathai Rift. Dravus. Turned to dust at the Evershard Gate. Kyle. Died saving me from a last barrage. He looked up. I don't know how many more I'll have to add tomorrow. His voice dropped to a whisper. But I won't forget them. He passed the slate to Varix. Add me, if I don't make it. 7 Brother Orin the Beastmaster. Orin chuckled as he tore into a protein ration. You know, I used to tame groks. Stairs. What? Before I was recruited. Farm world. Cypra Mundi Orbital Agricolony. Dad raised them for meat. Nasty bastards, groks. Could trample a man flat. He grinned. Taught me patience. Taught me when to strike and when to not. Then, in a softer tone. Still think about that ranch. Quiet there. Big skies. Sometimes I wish. He trailed off. Then he squared his shoulders. Anyway. If I die tomorrow, bury me in Grok's hide. They'll know I died the way I lived, stubborn and covered in S******. Laughter. 8 Brother Teklos the quiet. Teklos never spoke. He'd lost his vocal cords on Veritas Prime. Took a plasma bolt to the neck, saving 2 scouts from annihilation. They offered him a bionic voice module. He refused. Tonight, he simply sat and carved. A piece of stone, from the hive's outer wall, slowly taking shape in his hands. He held it up. A tiny Imperial Aquila, no bigger than a coin. He passed it to Tarvan. Tarvan looked at it, touched it like it was holy. "I'll keep it safe," he said. Teklos nodded, then carved another. 9 The night deepens. As the fire burned low, the tone changed. Less stories. More silence. Each brother sat with his own ghosts. Overhead, the stars spun slow. Faint seismic tremors echoed beneath the stone as toe infiltration drones began to stir, but the Imperials didn't know that yet. For them, it was a night of peace. Varix stood, staring toward the hive's broken silhouette. "We've done this 1,000 times. Planets. Fortresses. Temples. We hold." He turned. "But this time, it feels different. Doesn't it?" Hestar nodded. "They're watching us." Tarvan added, "They're learning us." Kaldos spoke last. "They respect us. And then. They'll still kill us." 10 final words. As dawn began to bleed into the ash-filled sky, the 17 gathered at the edge of the ramparts. Each made the sign of the Aquila. Each remembered the field Kaldos saw. Then Varix raised his bolter. "Brothers. Should we fall today, let the rock remember our names. Let the stone bear our echoes. And let the enemies of mankind know." He chambered around. "That we are not yet dust." And below, in the ruins of Hive Halion's gate, the first faint shimmer of toe stealth fields began to flicker. But the Imperial Fists stood unshaken. Waiting. Title: Storm over Halion's Gate, Part 4 of the Halion Saga. Word count, ~4,980. 1 Breach Protocol. They came with silence. Before the first gun roared, the perimeter sensors at Redoubt K9 glitched to static. Brother Lexicanum Kaldos, meditating at the center of the forward tower, opened his eyes as something deep and unseen clawed at the ether. "They are here," he whispered, just before the first pulse round screamed through the dark. Dawn broke, not with sun, but with fire. To the opening salvo. A volley of Seeker missiles arced in from the far sprawl, trailing blue flame. Drones buzzed into existence in perfect sync, shields humming as they soaked up autocannon fire from the redoubt's walls. Battle suits dropped from the heights of ruined spires, jetpacks flaring. Brother Orin took a pulse blast to the chest. The impact blew him from the parapet. He didn't scream. He didn't need to. The others saw and knew. Varix shouted, "Form firing line. Target high mobility assets." Even as communications flared with static, the Iron Fists moved as one. 3-toe front line, Shazvatilin. Shazvatilin ducked beneath a storm of bolter fire, her 15-8 crisis suit rocked by shockwaves. The Imperials had fortified the redoubt well. It would cost them dearly to take it. Maintain pressure, she barked into her comm, but the reply came garbled. EMP grenades had already begun frying their networks. Shadow Sun's careful preparations were compromised. Still, Halion pressed forward. Her battle suit leapt through fire, flanking the western gate. Her target, the heavy bolter nest that had already claimed 2 fireblade carders. For the greater good, she whispered. 4 iron fists, hold the line. Brother Hestar slammed another magazine into his heavy bolter and let loose a stream of fire. Blue armored shapes exploded into sprays of blood and sparks. They're cutting through the north trench, someone shouted. Brother Tarvin responded by triggering the melter charge he'd placed 3 hours prior. The ground exploded. A battle suit vanished in the blast. They want this gate, he snarled. Let them pay in pieces. Corven, his ancient frame steady, directed 3 squads of servitors to plug the breach. Behind them, Teklos passed out fresh ammunition. Still, for every toe that fell, 2 more appeared. 5 Shadow Sun's gambit. Commander Shadow Sun watched the feed flicker with distortions. The jamming was worse than expected. But she understood Imperial tactics. If the wall did not break, the spirit must. Deploy the Halion, she said. Moments later, a ghost keel shimmered into reality behind the Imperial lines. Its fusion collider vaporized a defense turret in a heartbeat. Stealth drones followed, and chaos erupted inside the redoubt. The trap was sprung. 6 The redoubt burns. Brother Lexicanum Caldos collapsed, blood trailing from his nose. They are within the walls, he roared. Hestar turned to find a stealth suit decloaking behind a barricade. The Astartes fired point blank. The alien exploded, but not before planting a beacon. A volley of plasma bolts rained from the sky. Corven was caught in the blast. He didn't rise. Tarvin pulled his brother's body behind cover, whispering, "Your name goes on the slate." 7 Halion breaches. Halion reached the interior gate, her suit scorched, 1 arm gone. She fired her last plasma round into a dreadnought's flank. It staggered. Then Varix met her with a power fist. The impact crumpled her chassis, but her auto systems detonated a failsafe. The blast took both of them off their feet. Neither moved. 8 The final hold. Only 8 iron fists remained. They regrouped inside the command spire, sealing blast doors, setting final charges. "We cannot win this," said Tarvin. Teklos carved another aquila. Hestar stared into the dark. "But we can make them bleed." Outside, the TOW regrouped, thinking the battle over. Then came the roar. 9 Dawn of Iron. From beneath the redoubt, the hidden vaults opened. The Spartan. The Land Raider Redeemer. The second dreadnought, long silent. Their engines thundered into life. Imperial Fury, entombed, awakened. 10 Epilogue, 1 hour later. Shadow Sun surveyed the battlefield. Wreckage. Fires. Dozens of suits lay broken. She had taken the redoubt. But not without cost. No Iron Fist prisoners. Only stone carved with aquilus, and a single slate etched with names. She stared at it long. Then turned away. "Begin preparations," she said. "They will come." The final battle loomed. Title: The Last Wall. Final chapter of the Halion saga. Word count: 4,990. 1. The dead wait quietly. The fields around Halion's gate were quiet. Not with peace, but with anticipation. The kind that presses on lungs and tightens hearts. Rain fell softly, washing blood from the cracked armor of the fallen. The wind stirred the banners of both the Tior and the Imperium, now ragged and soaked. Inside the bastion, Brother Sergeant Tarvan placed his hand on the warm plating of the Spartan. "She's ready." Only 3 iron fists remained. Tarvan, Hestar, Teklos, the last sons of the Halion wall. To the Tior mobilize. Commander Shadowsun stood beneath the hovering Storm Surge cannons, light from their massive payloads casting blue reflections in her helmet. "Begin operation, Falling Hammer," she said. Thousands of Tior infantry moved into formation. Ghost keels shimmered. Crisis suits powered up. Broadsides aligned their heavy rail rifles. At the rear, massive storm surges thundered forward, their seismic steps cracking the soil. Firecast would remember this day. So would the galaxy. 3. The final prayer. Inside the redoubt chapel, Teklos lit a single censer. He whispered the names etched on his slate. 47 names. "We are not dying," he said. "We are joining them." Tarvan said nothing. He looked to the north wall, where the horizon shimmered. The Tior were coming. For first contact. The sky turned white as the opening salvo thundered. Storm surges launched their destroyer missiles first. 6 tore through the air, trailing energy like falling comets. The Spartan took the brunt. It didn't shatter, but its plating peeled back like skin from bone. It kept moving. Hestar laughed, blood already streaming from a shrapnel wound to his temple. "We make our stand." Teklos manned the Redeemer's flame-storm cannon. The field turned to fire. 5. The redoubt collapses. Ghost keels slipped through the smoke, decloaking to fire melter blasts into the walls. Hestar caught one in a crossfire, blowing its torso open. He was hit a second later. A rail round speared through his hip, vaporizing the limb. He crawled to the Spartan. "Brother, get me inside." Tarvan didn't hesitate. He hauled him in, slammed the hatch, and triggered the beast's charge. 6 Iron Vengeance. The Spartan charged directly into the Tior line. A ghost keel melted beneath its tracks. A shield drone exploded like a popped blister. Then it opened fire. Twin quadless cannons tore holes into broadsides. Its hull-mounted bolters stitched fire across the pathfinders. Inside, Teklos wept as he turned the Land Raider toward a knot of fire warriors. "Burn in the Emperor's name." Flame-storm cannons screamed. The Tior screamed louder. 7 Tior counter. But the Tior did not break. Commander Shadowsun leapt into the fray, fusion blasters at full power. She struck the Redeemer first, blasting through its side. Teklos died instantly, vaporized mid-chant. Rail rifles roared. The Spartan took one round, then another. Its tracks blew apart. It still fired. Tarvan stepped from the wreckage, dragging Hestar's wounded body. Only 2. 8 The blood ground. They held for another hour. The ground was red. Tarvan used his power fist to rip through a battle suit, then crushed the pilot's throat beneath his boot. Hestar fired his bolt pistol until it clicked dry. Then he threw it, hitting a drone in the lens. It spun, confused. He laughed again. "Not yet, Xenos. Not." A high-energy round took his head clean off. Tarvan didn't look back. 9 Last stand. Tarvan climbed the last remaining rampart, planting the broken banner in a pile of corpses. He was coated in blood, theirs, it didn't matter. Shadow Sun stood below, flanked by 4 ghost keels and a full cadre of fire warriors. They aimed. He spread his arms. Come then, finish it. They did. Tense silence. No bolt of fire. No pulse blasts. Only wind. The redoubt was gone. Shadow Sun walked among the dead. The soil drank deeply. She found the banner, broken, still fluttering. She let it be. We have victory, said Tilene's second-in-command. Shadow Sun nodded. Prepare the rites. They died as warriors. 11 Epilogue. In orbit, a lone Teal cruiser logged the final message. Halion's gate is ours. Resistance eliminated. On its hull, the names of the fire-cast dead were etched in fresh alloy. In the void, the Imperium remained silent. No reinforcements. No prayers. The Iron Fists were no more. But their last wall had stood. To the very end.